on good police work, good intelligence work. I think a political process that can draw in the dissidents is highly unlikely at this time, and it may just be that one has to accept these groups are there and going to be there for some time to come yet.
I think there's a culture has grown up over the last few years in the UK that, you know, we can have a world that's free from terrorism, nowhere perhaps more so than Northern Ireland. But I think people are realistic. They understand that there are always going to be people in our society here who are going to try and use violence for political ends. And we know they're there and we have to cope with them. What we want to be assured as a community is that there are effective ways to deal with them within the law.
There was trouble 2 weeks ago, this time on a Protestant estate in Belfast. A gunman from the paramilitary UVF was seen on the streets, a worrying sign that loyalist groups are stirring. It's just the threat to normal life that dissidents are said to be trying to create, and that politicians keep insisting belongs to the past.
Liz McKean, well, I'm joined to discuss this by Sinn Féin's Policing and Justice spokesman, Gerry Kelly. Gerry Kelly, first of all, how is what dissident Republicans doing so far off from what you yourself were doing once?
Well, I think the circumstances have to be looked at, and there were a number of assertions in your extracts there, so let me make it very clear. First of all, there is minimal support for these groups, and as described, there are a number of them. We have described them in the past as microgroups. Clearly, they are dangerous. Clearly, they have done damage. But to try and compare that with a war that was fought between the IRA and the British Army over a period of some 35 years is not a comparable situation. Neither is the situation within which we live. There was talk earlier on of a lack of equality. The fact is that when I was a teenager, when I was involved in this, there was a gerrymandered state. We had, for instance, in Derry, and I think you spoke of people in Derry, a situation where 95% of the people were Catholic, yet the actual council was run as a unionist council. Those things have changed. We have the Good Friday Agreement, we have St Andrews Agreement, and we have the latest Hillsborough Agreement.
But Gerry Kelly, this report out tomorrow clearly says that support for these groups is growing. There's been over 100 incidents since the turn of the year. The problem is that Sinn Féin promised a united Ireland by 2016, and it doesn't look as if that's going to happen.
Well, actually, that's a fallacy of the media. Okay, Sinn Féin did not promise United Ireland by 2016. That's a complete nonsense. But setting that aside, let me again, because you're saying that this report, which is by, if I could say, as an English academic, I am on the ground. Ardoyne was mentioned, the rats in Ardoyne. That is my constituency. That's where I represent. You're saying that there is growing support. Here is the fact. The only scientific way to gauge support that I can point to is through elections.
Well, but are you aware, Gerry Kelly, are you aware of the identities of some of these dissidents?
But if you want the evidence, with respect, you know, because you're making assertions, if you want the evidence, then go to the election. In the last election, I ran in that area where the trouble was, and my vote increased by 7%, and I represent Sinn Féin. So it is a wrong assertion that, in fact, that the support for Sinn Féin,
but with respect to your electoral, but with respect to the election, very small number of people, as you know, can do a great deal of damage.
And I said that at the start myself, and that is.
But are you aware of the identities of any of these dissidents?
But they cannot survive. They cannot survive without people's support, and people have made it very clear that they do not support them.
But in our film, we have talked to several people, formerly in the Republican movement, and youngsters who say now that they feel disillusioned, that they're not getting what Sinn Féin promised them, and that actually they won't condemn the return to violence. Are you doing everything you can to help the police and security services identify these dissidents, particularly the ones who have grown out of the real IRA?
At the basis of the report that you're basing this report on, which is coming out, being published tomorrow, what I took out of your report is that they're saying, and you need to listen to this, they're saying that what we need here, that there's no political resolution to this, that we need a security resolution. Do you know how often we listen to that over a period of 2 generations? Yeah. There is no security resolution to this. It is a political resolution. We have a situation where we have said to people, look, there is a political way forward to United Ireland, to equality in a United Ireland.
But when?
Well, when we can get it. We have to share this island. We have always been upfront about that. We're Democrats. What was missing was democracy. We have institutions which now form the North-South Ministerial Institutions for the first time in Irish history.
But the danger is, Jerry Kelly, sure, the danger is that if you cannot control the violence, you and Sinn Féin will become irrelevant in Northern Ireland.
How can you say that we are irrelevant when we are the largest party in Belfast?
If you can't control the violence and the violence increases.
With due respect to you, you know, you're making some of this stuff up. We are the largest party. You said earlier on that we're losing our grip. How are we losing our grip if our vote is going up? Now, these people who are putting a different analysis, and that's up to them, and they have the right to do that, let them go forward in elections and we will debate it with them. In fact, I have said myself, as has Jerry Adams, that we will talk to anybody who wants to talk out the situation here.
So let's be quite clear. You say you'll talk to anybody. You will talk to... Can I just be quite clear then? You will talk to the real IRA. I
will talk to absolutely anybody, including the real IRA, to put our analysis forward and try and convince them that there is a political way forward to the aims that they espouse. And that there is no right, no reason for armed struggle now.
Thank you very much, Jerry Kelly.
Thank you.
Now, hard negotiations.